Hello, Sophie and Emily. So the question this week is, I have been in an on-off situationship with avoidant detachment, and then I fell in love with all my being. It started 1.5 years after being widowed and has been going on that same amount of time. I struggle every time I ask for something a little more serious, and he says he's not where I am, meaning more time spent together. I am thinking I need to let him go, but I can't. Is it because I don't want to feel grief again, start all over again, be able to express that physical connection with him again? I was completely open and vulnerable with him. I would miss that the most. It just doesn't feel that simple to let go. I found out after my husband died, he had sexually betrayed me for years, and I'm just so scared of dating or being blindsided again. So I do not want to date around. I'm lol and a committed person. So I don't know if it's that, love, fear of failed relationship again, feeling grief again, or what my hang up really is about letting him go. Whew, that's a big question. I really feel for you because there's so many aspects to it about grieving your husband and then the betrayal of your husband and then falling in love and then not having your needs met and fearing being alone again, but also betrayal again. There seems to be a lot of fear and issues around trust that are really difficult to kind of find your way to making a clear decision for yourself.
I agree. It's such a painful position to be in, that sort of unbearable longing for someone or something that you can't have or you can't have fully. I suppose one wondering I had is whether there's a connection between perhaps subconsciously choosing someone who is not fully available and your husband's really deeply painful sexual betrayal that you found out after he died. So there was no way to address it or have a conversation about it. You were just sort of left on your own with it. That maybe there's a sort of something about wanting someone you can't have is less painful than thinking that you have someone and then finding out that you didn't have them in the way that you thought. I don't really know if that's an answer or just sort of something to think about for yourself. Like, why have I fallen for this person who doesn't want the same things that I want? And I wonder if it's because it's safer to stay in the realm of a fantasy relationship, of something that you're longing for, than to open yourself up to the possible pain or risk of allowing someone to actually be with you. I think I just was curious about what it means for you to be on your own, because I think from what I understood from your message is that you started this relationship, so you had a year and a half after, which just isn't that long. And I guess I just wondered what the meaning you hold with being on your own. So those are just sort of more thoughts than answers.
These things don't tend to have answers.
No, but like you're asking what your hang up really is about with him or letting him go.
I guess one of the things that we're pointing to is that some of the emotional work is trying to untangle those threads for yourself and how you might find ways of doing that. And I think one of the things that are often guides to this are, how does it feel in my body? And is this a pattern in my life? And so I'm wondering, often when we're with someone who is avoidant or ambivalent in commitment, we're often repeating historical patterns. They may be patterns with your past husband, but they may also be childhood attachment patterns. And sometimes noticing what you feel in your body, or the cycle you go through, or the dance that you do with your partner around when this moment of avoidance or ambivalence comes up, and sort of putting a spotlight of awareness on that, noticing if there's a repetition of how you behave, how he behaves, like the different moves that you do. Because really, if you want a relationship to be different, need to understand some of the patterning that you have, the dynamic and the dance you do, and then that gives you more choice to do different moves next time. And that might be a different move together, or it might be the move to go apart. Sometimes we realize, oh, actually, this isn't the first time I've felt like this feeling of panic. You've left me, I'm on my own, you're going to leave me. It might be that the first time you experienced that was around the death and the betrayal of your husband, but it may also be that that tracks further back in your life. And so ways, obviously, bringing awareness, there is therapy, there is also journaling. And then also, I don't know how willing your partner is in this conversation of curiosity about what's happening between the two of you. Is he someone who's like, this is where I'm at in the relationship and I don't really want to be interested in it. This is just where I am, full stop. Or is there room for couples therapy? Is there room for a conversation about, I've noticed that when I reach for you, you do this, and then I do this, and then we end up here. And I don't want to keep doing that every time. I want to do something different. How could we do it differently? Because often these things are co-created as well.
I have a similar thought to both of you, which is you've asked yourself very important questions, which is, are you scared of being blindsided again? Are you frightened of feeling grief again? And what is your hang up? And I guess my response to that is, are you in a cycle of asking yourself the questions and not daring to let yourself open and actually explore for yourself what those answers might be, so that you could, as an experiment, if you weren't in therapy, you could have a voice note for each of those questions and just add to the voice note when you have a thought, like, chart them. And then when you when you open your mind to the question, you could spend a little bit of time just exploring it out loud, because I think journaling is really good and it's just as good as speaking out loud. But some of us are better verbally, some of us are better writing, whichever works for you. Just put thoughts and words down on a page, because it feels to me that you're frightened of feeling pain. And so the minute you are frightened of feeling the pain, you stop and then you get stuck and then you kind of wheel with the same questions again. So that might be a place to start, because it feels like you have important questions and it's really exploring within yourself what your responses are to those questions.
It is true, as Soph says, it's worth having a conversation with this person about whether they're willing to kind of have a conversation or connect with you about where you are versus where they are. I think it's also true that you can't will somebody into changing. So you can want someone to be different and long for them to be different. But ultimately, if they keep saying the same things and doing the same things, like, the likelihood is that it's not in your gift to make them different. And so then I suppose it's about accepting reality. Like, this is how they are. I either have to accept that this is what our relationship will look like as far as I know, that I can predict, or I can decide this isn't what I want and do something else. But there's something that feels, and maybe it's just because I'm really bad at not knowing, but there's something that feels slightly unbearable about the sort of limbo of, like, is he going to be like this? Or I don't assume it's he, could be she.
She says he.
Does she say, okay? That feels really like a sort of a loop. It feels like a loop. And personally, it helps me to sort of clarify. Does that make any sense? You both are being very quiet.
No, I completely agree. I think you can only really influence and change within yourself. And the other thing is, having been hurt in finding the betrayal of her husband that died, I'm curious that you fell in love so quickly, because that can also be a kind of escape from your feelings of pain, that you kind of want to just put all the bad stuff behind and then have a new story and be kind of skip into the sunset. My other thought is, you're clearly loyal and loving, but in the ambivalence of the man in your life, is there some unconscious ambivalence of yours that you're not fully recognizing because it's hard to trust when you've been betrayed? I think that's as much as we've got for now. Thank you so much for being so open and asking us such a brave question. We really hope it gives you some direction to kind of find the support for yourself. And, we're really glad that you're looking for support, because that is what you need. And so take care, and thank you very much.